Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Happy Friday to you, and a very important day for us here, with it being September 11th. Just want to give you guys a quick pause to remember the events of 19 years ago and how it's changed our nation, and in memory of all those who were involved in that or who lost loved ones. But anyway, let's get on to the tropics, and this isn't necessarily a Carolina issue, but something I think could be a big problem coming over the weekend and especially early next week across the Gulf of Mexico, and that's another quickly evolving storm close to land. Before we go any further, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we've got articles with the latest in the Carolinas and the Southeast on CarolinaWXAuthority.com, as well as our Facebook page. And here's a look at the named list so far this 2020 season. I added the Greek letters because we're about 4 more names into the list here at September 11th before we make it to the Greek letters, and we have 21 names to use up before we go to number 22, which would be Alpha. We think Sally is likely to form here in the next probably 36 hours, and Teddy could be forming at that time as well, and it'll be tough to say which is which. But I'll show you what we're looking at right here. Now, this is from the Hurricane Center this afternoon. The 2 areas in red are the ones we're watching, but I am most concerned with this area of showers and storms, which is over the northwest Bahamas and starting to affect the southern Florida Peninsula, because that is potentially 3 or 4 days out from a landfall in the northern Gulf Coast as a named storm. Behind it, Paulette and Renee are not going to be issues, at least in the near term, for the U.S. Now, Paulette could be a big problem for Bermuda as a hurricane, and we're going to talk more about that in the coming days. Renee should not be an issue, and then this disturbance we think probably will end up being Teddy, probably early next week, maybe even as soon as Sunday. Could be something to watch later on next week into the following week, depending on how it navigates the South Atlantic coast. And then after that, another wave to watch as well. And if that weren't enough, we've got this one here in the Central Gulf, which could camp out in the Western Gulf and maybe cause an issue for Mexico or even Texas down the road. But again, the one that I'm going to talk about today is this one right here, which has a 70% chance of becoming a depression or storm, either over Florida or over the northeastern Gulf. Yeah, that's right. I did say over Florida. And the reason for that is that the organization of the storm may be improved by what's going on aloft while the system is still moving over land. But more likely it's going to be developing here in the eastern Gulf of Mexico. And here's a kind of a graphical look at our systems here. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 in their orders of organization. And so we're going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to show you guys why, and say that we may have a strong tropical storm or Category 1 hurricane threatening landfall over the central Gulf Coast states later on Monday or into early Tuesday. Tough to say if that's going to be New Orleans, Pensacola, or Panama City. This whole area should be certainly watching. And the problem we've got here is that once this moves into the Gulf, later Saturday night, Sunday morning, it's got less than 2 days before potential impact and landfall. It's going to be kind of a compact system, but it's going to spend time over warm water. We saw this happen with Hannah back at the end of July, hitting South Texas as a Category 1 storm. The conditions that were there for Hannah are going to be there again for this system, although it may not quite be as intense, but something that some models are now jumping on, so I'm definitely got my antennae up for what could happen here. Here's a look at the satellite imagery, and you can see a pretty good growing system, but lacks kind of a central core. We're kind of estimating that the low pressure system would form in here. This is Grand Bahama, this is Andros Island, and this is southeast Florida, so maybe moving towards Miami Beach area here by Saturday morning, then across South Florida on Saturday and into the Gulf, either Saturday night or early on Sunday morning. But probably will be in a spot where it can develop aloft even while spending time over land, and this is kind of the skinny part of South Florida, so it's definitely worth watching. The Hurricane Center does give it a 70% chance of development in the next 48 hours. Regardless, it's going to bring some heavy rain to the Bahamas tonight into tomorrow, and as well as South Florida, and then beyond that up across the northeastern and north central Gulf Coast states early next week. Here's a look at from weathermodels.com of the Global Ensemble Forecast System as well as the GFS, and we're not getting a lot of model activity yet. Models they may actually be coming in. Let me see if I can get an 18Z up for you guys here. There we go. Okay, so the models just ran literally as I was putting this together for you guys, and you can see some pretty good agreement on the track of the system over South Florida in the next 24 hours. This would be 2 p.m. tomorrow, and then at 48 hours, 2 p.m. on Sunday, it's in the Northeast Gulf over very warm water. And then Monday afternoon, it's going to be anywhere from south of Destin, Florida, to east of Boothville, Louisiana. taking aim at the central Gulf Coast. So the agreement on this is not strong because it hasn't developed yet, but for something 3 days out, definitely starting to hone in on the area that could potentially be hit, and that could be anywhere from southeast Florida up through the western Florida Panhandle. So basically, I would say anywhere from Grand Isle, Louisiana, to about Destin, Florida would be the target zone, and kind of keying in on Mobile Bay or Pensacola, with some drifting westward into Louisiana after that, but it should be weakening at that point. Again, speculation at this point. We've got some time before it develops, but here's the problem. Once it does develop, it's not going to give you guys a lot of lead time. So if you are on the Gulf Coast right now, you need to be looking at making preparations, I would say by tomorrow, just to be on the safe side, because there are many vulnerable coastlines here for a storm that's going to be strengthening and hitting. Even a Category 1 storm can cause problems like we saw with Isaias a little over a month ago, and with Hannah about a month and a half ago. Here's the ensemble forecast, ensemble tracks, and this is kind of weird. It's keeping it on a westerly track over the northern Gulf and keeping it weak, but some tracks take it up into Louisiana, but much of the tropical guidance is farther east, so I'm kind of honing more in on this area here, anywhere from near New Orleans over to Mobile Bay at this point. I'm going to show you a little bit more about the intensity forecast, and you can see all the models are strengthening this system to a tropical storm by Saturday night, and then perhaps into a strong tropical storm or a Category 1 hurricane by Monday afternoon, close to land. Now, whether or not it hits as a hurricane, still to be known, but it could certainly be affecting coastal sections with some higher waves and some heavy rain and maybe tornadoes as it's coming close to the coast Monday afternoon and evening. So we don't have a whole lot of time. That's why I'm sounding the alarm now. Let's see, we've got an updated model run, which several of the models now are not developing the system, which is very interesting. So it looked like maybe it get its act together earlier in the day, and now the runs are kind of backing off. But the HWRF model, and to some extent the HMON model, and these are our regional tropical models, do show this storm near hurricane intensity before landfall. So these are the models that have done the best over these Gulf of Mexico systems. They picked up on Laura intensifying to a major hurricane before anyone else did. They did the same thing with Hannah coming into Texas as a developing hurricane. So I am putting more weight in these stronger models than I am the weaker systems, which have not resolved this system just yet. Do watch these guys as they may play catch up and catch up to these models. But right now I'm leaning towards a higher end tropical storm, and certainly there's that chance it could be a Category 1 storm. Is it beyond Category 1? I mean, with the amount of time it has over water, not too likely, but definitely something we have to keep in mind. Here's some rainfall amounts from the Weather Service office in New Orleans. Keeps most of that heavy rain near the coastal areas and away from New Orleans, Hammond, Slidell, and Baton Rouge. Biloxi could get heavy rain, Mobile could, and even into parts of Florida as well. Pensacola and the Panhandle just got hit hard with Marco a month ago. Here's a radar that shows the circulation of the system. Not really there just yet, but it would probably have a center form somewhere in here. Very heavy rain over the coastal waters of the northwest Bahamas. All this is going to be heading into Florida tomorrow, so it's going to be a nasty Saturday in deep South Florida, southeast Florida especially, but even some heavier storms on the west coast. And then this should all make it out into the Gulf. I did want to show you as well real quick what we're looking at with the HWRF model, and this is from earlier. It shows a lot of rain east of the center. It's not a big storm. It's pretty compact, but some strong winds possible in the center of the storm, but maybe some very heavy rain bands and possible tornadoes across the Panhandle, even the Big Bend for Sunday night, Monday morning, and then during the day Monday across the western and central Panhandle, and then Monday night moving into Alabama. And this system is falling apart as it comes into Mississippi, which is better news for Louisiana. But if that GEFS is right and it comes in farther south, then maybe more of a threat here than up in here for that kind of weather. And I did want to show you guys as well the HWRF wind speeds, still on the light side at this point as it comes into South Florida over Saturday and into Sunday. But then we see a drop in pressure beginning on Sunday afternoon. And at this point, it's a tropical storm Sunday evening. But as it gets closer to Alabama, notice the wind speeds are approaching hurricane intensity. In fact, this model in particular shows Category 1 intensity in 982 millibars, and this would be Monday afternoon at 4 o'clock Central. So we really only have 3 days before this potentially makes an impact up in here. So I'm not giving you guys a ton of time. I want you to be prepared rather than not if you're in these locations and here in the event this does become a hurricane. If it stays a little more disorganized or gets sheared, it could be a tropical storm, but it could be a Category 1 hurricane. And we've seen a lot of storms this season turn into hurricanes close to landfall. with the exception of Laura, which had an extra day over water to get to major hurricane. But certainly Hannah, Isaias, Nana, and storms like that had a very small window before they became hurricanes and made landfall. We don't think this one could be any different based on what we're seeing with the ocean waters, which are quite warm, well above average in the northeastern Gulf, up to 3 degrees Celsius above average. So that's where we stand right now. Of course, we'll have you guys posted with more videos, but this is kind of the anticipated track at this point. It's going to make a bit of a right bend and then turn back to the left as high pressure drills down to the Gulf Coast states and steers us more westerly. And where it comes on shore will determine who gets the worst weather. All right, everyone, thanks for joining us and have a great weekend. We'll keep you guys posted. Take care and God bless.